What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yammie Noob. Today we are doing a bit of a Q&A. I just came back from riding my dirt bike around a little bit and I figured, hey, why don't I just make a quick video, put up something on Instagram and let you guys know to ask me some stuff. So I've got a ton of questions here in just the 1 hour that I posted on it, which is pretty crazy. So I don't think I can get to everything, but I will try to answer as many questions as I can. Two things before we get started. This is our giveaway Yamaha R1. We've got tons of other giveaway bikes. You guys already know that. You're probably already subscribed on YammieNoob.co, but if you're not, I highly encourage you to go and subscribe on YammieNoob.co. That is the best way to get in touch with me, to access our cool live stream, our community, our weekly contests. If any of our Discord boys are watching this right now, they know how cool it is, and honestly, it's literally the best part of what I do. So hit the link down below and join up. Also, if you want to get started on these questions for Instagram and all that kind of stuff, I'm a lot more active on Instagram nowadays. I actually just hired on a new guy who's going to help me manage my Instagram account a little bit better and post up more content and do that kind of stuff. So we have a big push on Instagram, and I'd love for you guys to go and check that out and follow me on there. You can also ask me questions like that. So without further ado, let's get into these questions. All right, Roba02 asks, what's your next bike? So I'm probably not gonna get a motorcycle for myself anytime soon. As of right now, not counting the Hayabusa because it's kind of a meme machine, I have 4 personal motorcycles. I've got my 675R race bike, my KTM 250 SXF, my KTM RC 390, and my Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled. So I have plenty of bikes, not trying to get anything else. Joe M. Gurr asks, will Spite ever do a track day? I'm trying to get him out. He finally has a bike that he feels is appropriate or good enough to go do a track day. We just gotta get him a suit and we're gonna go see how he does. New York Dutch asks, entry-level bikes with non-adjustable suspension and being a beefy boy, does it matter? 250 pounds. It doesn't matter too much. If you're getting started with motorcycling, you always want to get the nicest bike you can possibly afford, or other schools of thought say get the cheapest and crappiest bike because you're going to drop it anyways. I personally think you should get the nicest bike you can because you're going to want to actually ride it and enjoy it and not be wrenching on it and actually learn how to ride. Now when it comes to adjustable suspension, you don't really need to worry about that for your very first motorcycle. You're not going to really understand or feel the differences that suspension characteristics can offer you whenever you start dialing in things like rebound and compression. And also for street riding, to be honest, it's sort of like a set it and forget it type of thing. I only mess with rebound and compression, that kind of thing, when it comes to competition riding, my track days and racing. For off-road riding as well, you might want to dial some things in, but other than that, you don't really have to worry about it. Dalton Flores asks, does Yammie still remember the OG fans? Dalton, of course I do. I know you've been commenting on Instagram since way back in the day. I actually recognize your little thumbnail. I know who the OG fans are, don't worry. Cal Drogo asks, out of all the bikes you've ridden, which have you enjoyed riding most in that moment? Honestly, my KTM 250 SXF. That thing provides me such a pure level of joy. It's so much fun to ride. Because it's so lightweight, you're just doing jumps and wheelies and goofing around with it and really playing with the bike. Second in place of that is probably my race bike. It just feeds my soul to open up the throttle on my race bike, but those two are probably my favorites. Sedis Foster asks, where do you want your channel to go in the future? Any dream sponsors? So this is an interesting question because I think for a lot of people who do YouTube, they want big sponsors and that kind of stuff, but honestly, like, what I want is more members on YammieNoob.co. I've worked so hard in trying to build that into be something that's real and valuable and people can join the community and have fun on there, and it's like a good thing for aspiring motorcyclists and experienced motorcyclists. So honestly, like, as long as I can keep growing that and YammieNoob.co keeps being a place that people can come back to and enjoy and be on our Discord server and have a good time, that's really what I'm looking for. I don't really care too much about subscribers or views. I just want to build the best possible community for motorcyclists online. That's pretty much it. Clay asks, how many fingers can you fit on your forehead? I think it's like 4, but I'm bald, so you could probably just keep going. I don't know. Blacked Out Sky asks, could someone with a decent bit of dirt bike experience start on a 600cc Super Sport? I don't know why. I've gotten so many DMs lately asking me if someone can start on a 600. Like, it's not that it's impossible to start on a 600, it's just a really bad idea. You're gonna learn and have more fun and have a better time riding a smaller, more compact, more manageable motorcycle. Please listen to other people who are more experienced when it comes to riding, who are all telling you to not start on a 600 Super Sport. Don't start on a 600 Super Sport. Please, I'm asking you, please don't do it. Jackson Skyrinsky asks, how long have you been riding for? I've been riding for about 6 years at this point. The Real Stop Hennis asks, why are you losing numbers compared to a few months back? I don't really know what you mean by losing numbers. If you mean like views on YouTube, we're actually doing the best we've ever done. You can actually go on a website called socialblade.com and you can see all these stats about channels and stuff, and you can see that we, I think, are up to like over 7 million views in the last 30 days, which is a complete record breaker for us, so we're doing really well. CT36378 or 678 asks, can you adopt me please? Send me an application and I will try to adopt you. Sanchez Guevara asks, personal favorite Hooligan bike? Honestly, the DRZ 400 is a pretty solid Hooligan bike because you don't care if you tip it over, you don't care if you crash it, you don't care what it does. It's got a good amount of torque, it can do wheelies really easily. I'm gonna say DRZ, it's a great bike. Phil ST330 asks, 675 not included, what bike would you pick for a track bike and why? 765 Daytona 2. So, two distinctions there. If you want to do a pure track bike, not a competition bike, a track bike, I might pick up something like the R1. They're so fun to ride, they're so effortless to ride, they're just easy to get along with, they make you feel like a superstar. As a track bike, leader bikes are awesome. Now if we're talking competition, I would probably go with something like the ZX6R or maybe the Gixxer 600, just because those bikes are really competitive and really good and easy to repair and easy to afford and good to run for races. So those are my two options. Charlie Mike 25 asks, pão de queijo or pão de queijo? Pão de queijo. Plant-based though, don't use real cheese. Javier X. Deno asks, how important would you say track days are to help improve a rider's ability / safety? So when it comes to track days, I think that they can definitely help you be safer on the street because it's gonna help you understand how stupid it is to actually push a sport bike on the street. If you are into sporty kind of riding, if you're into doing that whole thing, which I definitely am, once you start doing track days, you realize how far the limit is for normal motorcycles. And it's just gonna help you stay more safe on the road because you realize that the road is no place to race. Now, track-based techniques really only apply at the racetrack. There's very few things that you can actually carry over to the street other than maybe some trail braking, maybe just understanding to minimize your dead spots and being smooth on the throttle. That stuff always works, but you know, when it comes to taking really late apex lines and trailing in super hard and cracking it wide open at the apex, you shouldn't be doing that on the street, and so those techniques really don't apply. But I highly, highly, highly encourage you to go out to a track day and see how it's like, because I think it's super fun and it will teach you a lot about your motorcycle. Lingua.Andrew asks, have you ever ridden a Royal Enfield? If not, would you? I have not ridden a Royal Enfield and I do not want to. Gus Peller asks, in your opinion, what is the all-time best motorcycle? Don't say Triumph just because you're a simp. Now, you already know I'm gonna say Triumph. I do think that my all-time favorite motorcycle is the Triumph Daytona 675R. That's my opinion. You asked my opinion and I just gave it to you. Andrew Schropp asks, what was the main influence for you to start riding? Like, did it just look fun, or, a weird way to phrase that question. Yeah, pretty much, I just wanted to get into it. It looked like a lot of fun, and I was pretty sure I'd like it, and I did. NM Jarvis asks, which giveaway bike, or any series yet, surprised you the most? That's a great question. I think the CB650R surprised me the most, mostly because I approached it thinking it was going to be a cold corporate Honda motorcycle, wasn't going to be very fun to ride, wasn't going to be very interesting, but the CB650R is actually a very good motorcycle. It's very playful, the engine has this awesome quality to it, it's really good on track too, better than it has any right to be. I think that one surprised me the most, honestly. It was a really awesome bike. Pashito asks, what European roads features you'd want to implement in the States and vice versa? I would love more roundabouts in the States. I think they're a far better use of traffic flow than four-way stops, and they also have been shown, I think, in studies to reduce collisions, so definitely want four-way stops. And I think vice versa in Europe, I'd love to see some higher speed limits, except for the Autobahn. I already know you're gonna say the Autobahn. Don't comment with the Autobahn. Damn boy he thick, great username, asks, is it still worth getting a 350Z? Weird question. So for those of you who don't know, I own a 370Z. It's just a sports car that I happen to own that I paid off a couple years ago, and I just can't bring myself to sell it. I really like it. I still drive it every once in a while, but it's not a motorcycle, so I don't really care that much about it. And I used to own a 350Z way back in the day. I think 350s are cool. Like if you want to get like a super solid rear-wheel drive car and just have fun. Yeah, I think they're still worth it. I think they're getting harder to find, relatively clean, so definitely look into that, but yeah. Mitchell JH asks, what is your end goal for racing? Yammie and Moto America. Yammie is definitely never going to Moto America. I'm not doing Moto America. Mostly because it is incredibly expensive, and for any class that I would enter in, I would not be competitive. Even, like, here's the thing. I would have to train for like years at this point to become even good enough to maybe be in Moto America, and then it's like so expensive to do it, and there's not even any money at the end of it anyways, so it doesn't really make much sense. For me, I am perfectly comfortable being a CMRA novice and having a good time and just racing and learning as much as I can. My goal is to eventually be a CMRA expert. That would be awesome, would be cool to be at that level. But beyond that, it's kind of just for fun. I just like racing. Mitchell JH asks, would you consider racing your KTM Enduro eventually? So I would love to race my KTM for motocross. I actually was just out today doing some trail / enduro style stuff, and honestly just had a bit of an epiphany that I realized that that stuff's not really for me. I don't really like doing that kind of riding, and earlier in the week, I was out at a motocross track and had way more fun with my bike on a motocross track. So if I was to do any kind of off-road competition style events, it would definitely be motocross. Jen Ren Selge asks, why don't you post more videos about your KTM dirt bike? Number one, because nobody cares. Number two, it's a personal bike for mine and not everything needs to be content for the internet. And number three, nobody cares. The content on the channel is very, very strictly related around street bikes. We've tried every once in a while to post adventure stuff, off-road stuff, this and that. It never really seems to catch traction, so this is what it is. I love my bike and it is what it is. Trent Ayers asks, you think the Modern Classic giveaway is doing well enough to continue it after the Iron 883? It is. It's already doing very, very well, and we'll definitely be able to do another bike after the Iron 883. We're thinking of doing something like a Bonneville or maybe a Z900 RS or one of those kinds of bikes, more standard, classic looking bike, or maybe even a Scrambler. I don't know yet, but it's definitely doing well enough that we're gonna definitely keep doing it. Kevin Trusso asks, if you had to erase a motorcycle brand from existence, which one would it be? Royal Enfield. Mike Jeskin asks, when are you gonna do a proper motocross vid? My motocross helmet does not have a GoPro mount on it, and I don't really want to put one on it, and it's just not really a thing that I want to put on the channel. It's not going to get good views, and no one cares, so I have to make sure we keep putting out videos that people get value from and that people really care about. I'm trying to remove myself from the equation as much as I can, because I don't really think that me riding my personal bikes is that interesting to people. Every once in a while I'll make an appearance with them, but I think people are here to see the new bikes, see the giveaway bikes, get value, get opinions, get reviews, and that kind of thing. Nathan Stark 20 asks, thoughts on the Ducati Hypermotard? Very good bike. I've ridden several of them, several versions and iterations and years and models. I loved all of them. They're very, very good. Ethan M. Wright asks, if not motorcycling or music, what would your main hobby be? I would probably be some sort of coffee snob or roaster or something like that, because coffee definitely comes as a strong third in my interests in life. IDLN asks, why are you not riding the Hayabusa anymore, sad face? This is an interesting one. So the Hayabusa's kind of at this point just been wheeled out every once in a while to just like make memes with it and have fun with it, which is fine, but it's really not a fun motorcycle to ride. I know people don't like it when I say that, but it's just true. Between all the bikes we have here in the garage, if you were to hand me the keys to all of them, I don't really ever reach for the Hayabusa. I just don't. I would rather ride the Svartpillen 401. I'd rather ride the SV650X. I'd rather ride literally anything than the Hayabusa. It's that little fun factor for me. John Newberg asks, would you ever want to take the KTM 250 to a motocross track? Yes, I already did, and I already want to go back. So much fun. Loved it. David Krolovsky asks, what do you like more, Supersport or Enduro/Supermoto bikes? Very different flavors of fun, right? Like one you have high speeds and dragging knee and just like, you know, very delicate type of balancing act with the motorcycle. And then, you know, off-road and enduro and that kind of stuff, or, you know, motocross, whatever you want to call it, that style. It's so much more aggressive and flowy, and it's super different. I'm really glad that I've gotten into both because I feel like it's important to explore both. I am Will Farrow asking a very good question here. If you were a sandwich, what kind of sandwich would you be? I would be a Vietnamese banh mi. Bar none, hands down, would be a banh mi. JD Walrich asks, can you test ride Aries Versus and make a video on it? I would love nothing more than to test ride the patrician of patrician commuter bikes, the Versus 650. Tyler Purdy asking a nice question here. How's life treating you? It's going pretty good. Personal things are going nice. Yammie Noob and the whole rigmarole here going very, very well. Just hired on a new guy. Things are growing, things are moving. I think especially in the age of COVID, I am very, very fortunate to do what I do and to be doing it well and to be growing and excelling in this time, because a lot of people are struggling, and I think it's insane that I'm doing well. Sometimes I actually feel guilty about it, but I have to remember that, you know, I'm in a particular position in life, and sometimes it just is what it is, and I'm doing my best to give back as much as possible to the community. Dante04317 asks, are you human? I am Busa. The Real Fat Bass asks, motorcycle or taco? Well, depends on the day. Some days I want taco, some days I want motorcycle, some days I want both. I'm not gonna lie. Wyatt.masters asks, if you started riding all over again, what bike would you start on knowing what you know now? I actually made a whole video about this because it was like a big topic that I was talking about, but I think knowing what I know now, I would have gotten a super cheap and basic 600 Super Sport to race with, because I love doing that. And I would have gotten a super cheap, basic, simple 250 dirt bike. Also love doing that. And then those would be my two bikes, and then I'd have a simple truck to take them places. That would be my setup, and that would make me happy for the rest of my life. Luan KDS asks, your favorite bikes that you own? Right now, it's a tie between my dirt bike and my race bike, my KTM 250 SXF and my Triumph Daytona 675R. Those are my two favorites right now. Some weeks I like the dirt bike more, some weeks I like the race bike more. It really depends on which one I'm currently riding, to be honest. They're kind of tied right now. Nathan Hawks 89 asks, Daytona 675 for a first bike? Don't do it. Bad idea. Justin Pirard asks, we know you like bikes, but what are some of your favorite sports cars? Honestly, I don't really care for cars too much anymore nowadays. I used to really like cars way, way back when, but I find them very boring now. But, I will couch that with a but. I'll make one very notable exception, because one day I would like to own one of these cars still. I want a 997 generation Porsche 911 GT3, hopefully with the 4-liter engine. I know they're insanely expensive nowadays, but that's still a halo car for me. Would love to own one in white, with the livery, with everything going on with it. Would be perfect. W. Strandberg asks, why have you not done a video on the SMCR yet? It's Spite's bike, not mine. He bought it for personal reasons, not for the channel. I'm not gonna sit here and force him to make videos on his personal motorcycles. That seems a little rude. And because it wouldn't get views. So that's 4 pretty good reasons as to why we haven't made a video on the SMCR. Xander Thompson asks, what did you do for a living before your YouTube channel? I actually worked at a couple different startups, doing a couple different things, mostly in a marketing capacity, bit in a growth capacity later down the line there. They were both in real estate. I got my economics degree, worked in that, like as an analyst for a while in analytics and that kind of thing. Kind of dabbled a lot for a couple years after college, and then this started really, it's insane that this has turned into what it turned into, but here we are. Austin Sprouse asks, how soon after your crash did you know you'd ride again? Honestly, pretty soon. I knew that it was gonna take a long time for me to get back to it because I had to heal and recover, but I knew that I wanted to jump back on as soon as I could. So I'd say like within a couple weeks, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna get back on. S. Morbs asking a track day question here. He says, what to focus on to push up into advanced group? The thing I see intermediate riders doing a lot as opposed to advanced level riders is intermediate riders are simply not committing enough to the throttle. You might think that you're really gassing it and really keeping it wide open, but really think about how long you're holding that throttle wide open and whether between all corners you're going wide open. You should literally be wide open as much as you possibly can. I know that sounds like really basic advice, but having a commitment to the throttle and a commitment to braking hard will make an enormous difference and will actually get you to be a lot faster. If you already have your lines dialed in, if you've already have your basics dialed in, it's not gonna be an issue. Wesley Ditzler asks, what is your least favorite thing about riding? And for me, it is heat. I cannot stand when it's super hot outside. Right now in Texas, it's over 100 degrees every single day. I get heat exhaustion, heat stroke. I was just on the motocross track the other day and almost threw up while I was out there because it was so hot. So I do not like when it's scorching hot. I probably live in the wrong place for it. A. Delise asks, buy me a Euro rack, Papa. My modular boy right there. Those who know will know. King of the Mountain asks, what is the best way to get that 6th car energy off-road? Pin it to win it, dude. Honestly, like what I've discovered riding off-road is like, just give it more gas. That helps in most situations to just keep on the throttle. Don't chop the throttle because you lose momentum and everything kind of gets out of shape. Also pinch the tank with your knees. That helps a lot. And the last question on here is Marcella89 asking, what's your opinion on the Indian Scout 60 bobber? I'm looking into that bike. We are probably gonna be getting our hands on an Indian Scout somewhat soon to do a big review and comparison against the Sportster. I think the Scout's the better bike to get for sure. It's liquid cooled, actually modern, looks a little bit better. And I'd actually really enjoy riding one and seeing what it's all about. Hey, you adorable little squid. Thanks for watching the video. Why don't you click on this one right here and keep watching? Don't worry, I'll wait. Just like this. Click the video. Do it now.